Welcome back. It's Saturday. Let's start reading before I get too tired. I'm already tired. It's 1 p.m. 1 p.m. I like to read about this nice Airbus 350. Then I will make a video about it in my language, Danish. When I'm finished, I need a minute to get to my bed. I have to check my cell phone. That takes a long time, can take like more than 2 hours to read this. So now I will lay it down. That's an aircraft that's less 10 years old. I did not know it was so new. It's from 2017 and 18. I did not know that. So that's a less 10 years old aircraft model. Super long range. So we could buy one of this and go travel, but I have no money. I have only money for food and cheap cola. So we cannot do that, but we can do that in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Go flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator one day. Now I like to read this.
Airbus A330neo. The Airbus A330neo, Neo for new engine option, is a wide-body airliner developed by Airbus from the original Airbus A330, now A330ceo current engine option. A new version with modern engines comparable with those developed for the Boeing 787 was called for by operators of the A330ceo. It was launched on the 14th of July, 2014 at the Farnborough Air Show, promising 14% better fuel economy per seat. It is exclusively powered by the Rolls-Royce Trent 7000, which has double the bypass ratio of its predecessor. Its two versions are based on the A330-200 and -300. The -800 has a range of 8,115 mi, 15,090 kilometers, 9,380 mi, with 257 passengers, while the -900 covers 7,200 mi, 13,330 kilometers, 8,290 mi, with 287 passengers. The -900 made its maiden flight on the 19th of October, 2017 and received its EASA type certificate on the 26th of September, 2018. It was first delivered to TAP Air Portugal on the 26th of November, 2018 and entered service on the 15th of December. The -800 made its first flight on the 6th of November, 2018 and received EASA type certification on the 13th of February, 2020. The first two -800s were delivered to Kuwait Airways on the 29th of October, 2020 and entered service on the 20th of November. As of December 2024, a total of 374 A330neo family aircraft had been ordered by more than 25 customers, of which 151 aircraft had been delivered. Development, edit. Studies, edit. The initial A350 concept, based on the A330ceo, before its redesign into the all-new A350XWB, was similar to what became the A330neo. At the Boeing 787 launch in 2004, Airbus' initial response was an improved A330. After negative feedback from airlines and lessors, the A350XWB became a new design in 2006. After the A320neo launch in December 2010 and its commercial success, the largest airline of Malaysia and all Airbus operator AirAsia asked Airbus to re-engine the A330. New engines like the GX or Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 developed for the 787 could offer a 12%-15% fuel burn improvement, and sharklets at least 2%. Airbus sales chief John Lee's argument was that the lower purchase price of an A330 even without new engines make the economics of buying an A330 competitive at mid-range routes with that of the Boeing 787. An A330neo would accelerate the demise of the similarly sized A350-800. Airbus also considered re-engineering the A380 but was wary of having two major modification programs simultaneously. In March 2014, Delta Airlines expressed an interest in the A330neo to replace its aging, 20-plus-year-old Boeing 767-300 jets. In the 250-300 seat market, CIT Group believed an A330neo enables profitability on shorter ranges where the longer range A350 and Boeing 787 are not optimized. CIT said that the A350-800 was not as efficient as it would like, and Air Lease Corporation added that the company did not consider it reasonable to take the A350-800 and A330neo as they saw no sustainable coexistence of the two aircraft. AirAsia extended flights to London and Paris from Kuala Lumpur in 2012 because their Airbus A340s were not fuel efficient enough and would try again with A330s. As Airbus gradually increased the output of the new A350, prolonging the production run of the A330 could help to maintain profitability. After Emirates cancelled 70 orders for the A350, Airbus said it continued to work on re-engineering the smaller A330. Launch, edit. On the 14th of July, 2014 at the Farnborough Airshow, Airbus launched the A330neo program, to be powered by the new Rolls-Royce Trent 7000. It would improve the fuel burn per seat by 14%. Airbus hoped to sell 1,000 A330neo aircraft. Its range would increase by 400 nautical miles, 740 kilometers, 460 mi, and although 95% of the parts would be common with the A330ceo, maintenance costs would be lower. New winglets, 3.7 meters wider and similar to those of the A350XWB, still within ICAO Category E airport requirements, along with new engine pylons, would improve aerodynamics by 4%. The A330neo's development costs were expected to have an impact of around 0.7% on Airbus's return on sales target from 2015 to 2017, an estimated $2 billion, £1.18 billion. Airbus stated that lower capital cost would make the A330neo the most cost-efficient medium-range wide-body airliner. Airbus said that it could pursue demand for 4,000 aircraft and that there was an open market for 2,600 jets not already addressed by backlogs, with operators already using A330s. Aerodynamic modifications would include a retwisted wing and optimized slats. In 2014, the airline monitor's Ed Greenslet stated that the A330neo would have the advantage of not being designed to fly 8,000 mi, unlike the A350 and Boeing 787, which were thus less economical on shorter routes, although the vast majority of long-haul markets is 4,000 mi or less. He also believed that an A330neo would enjoy a monopoly in its segment instantly, with the Boeing 767 essentially out of production, the Boeing 757 not replaced, while the A321neo and the 737-9 are smaller and had less range, and that launching the A330neo would probably kill the smallest A350-800. John Lee estimated that the A330-900 would have operating costs on par with the 787-9, but would be available at 25% lower capital costs and could reach a production rate of 10 per month after a 7/8 per month rate at the production start. Both A330neo variants were expected to have a maximum takeoff weight of 242 t. The type design was frozen in late 2015. Boeing Vice Chairman and Commercial Airplanes CEO Ray Conner dismissed the A330neo as 2004 revamp which cannot match the 787's direct operating costs, being £20,000, 9.1 t, heavier and having a wing only slightly improved from the 1980s design, and claimed the 787-10 was almost 30% more efficient per seat than the previous A330-300 and that a new engine would not close the gap, but he acknowledged that it could be a threat as it put pressure on Boeing as it sought to break even after 850. 1,787 deliveries. Production, edit. On the 7th of September, 2015, Airbus announced that it had begun production of the first A330neo with the construction of its center wing box and engine pylon. Final assembly of the first aircraft, an A330-900, started in September 2016 at the Airbus Toulouse site with the joining of the wings to the center fuselage at the Station 40. In December 2016, the program schedule slipped by 6 weeks due to marginal engine development at Rolls-Royce, and launch customer TAP Air Portugal projected its first A330neo would be delivered in March 2018. The first aircraft left the paint shop in December 2016, awaiting its engines. By April 2017, the Trent 7000s were to be installed later during the summer so that the first flight was delayed until September. Due to the delay, TAP Air Portugal was not expected to receive the first A330neo until the end of the first half of 2018, or even in the third quarter. The engines were shipped to Airbus in June. The aircraft complete with engines showed at Toulouse in September before its first flight. Major structures of the first A330-800 were entering production in October 2017. High-lift devices are installed on the wing in Bremen, fuselage sections are built in Hamburg, the center wing box in Lens, titanium engine pylons in Toulouse and Charlotte wingtips in Korea. Its final assembly started in November 2017, on track for its planned first flight in mid-2018. Structural assembly was completed by February 2018, having its flight test instruments installed and waiting for its engines before its 300H flight test program. At this time, production aircraft progressed through the final assembly line with the first airspace cabin interior being fitted. A330 production was cut to 50 deliveries in 2019, with more than half of them re-engined A330neos. In April 2020, the production rate decreased from 3.5 to 2 per month due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on aviation, and finished planes were stored while waiting for deferred deliveries. In 2018, unit cost was $259.9M for a -800 and $296.4M for a -900. Flight testing, edit. The A330-900 first flight on the 19th of October 2017 was a debut of the 1,400 hours flight test campaign involving 3 prototypes plus the first production aircraft, 1,100 flight hours for the A330-900 and 300 flight hours for the A330-800, targeting mid-2018 EASA and FAA type certification. The 4H-15M flight reached 30,125 feet, 9,182 m, and 502 kn, 930 km per hour. It should establish certain maximum operating points and achieve an initial handling qualities assessment including at high angle of attack. This first aircraft, MSN 1795, was scheduled to perform 600H and was to be joined the following month by the second, MSN 1813, which will fly 500H, before the third, MSN 1819, the first customer aircraft for TAP Portugal with a complete cabin. 2 flight test engineers and 2 engine specialists monitored the 60 gigabytes per hour output of 1,375 sensors and 98,000 parameters, including strips of microelectromechanical systems to measure aerodynamic pressure distribution across the wing. MSN 1795 was to undertake simulated icing tests and cold weather tests in Canada, noise assessment, autoland testing and high angle of attack, minimum unstick checks during rotation with a tail bumper. MSN 1813 was to test natural icing conditions, assess hot and high conditions in the United Arab Emirates and La Paz, and fly 150H of route proving. It has rakes and pressure sensors in the engine flows to compare actual thrust with ground bench measurements. MSN 1819 was to validate the airspace cabin interior fitting with artificial passengers for ventilation analysis and cabin environment measurements. The second test aircraft made its maiden flight on the 4th of December, to be used to validate aerodynamic and engine performance and airline operations. By the end of January 2018, the first logged almost 200H in 58 flights while the second had accumulated nearly 120H in 30 flights. Its flight envelope was fully opened including flutter and stall tests to complete power plant calibration and straight configuration has been frozen. Airbus commenced autopilot, autoland and high-speed performance testing, and was to move on to hot and cold weather tests, as well as noise and icing tests, over the following 3 months. As of the 10th of April, 2018, the 2 test aircraft had logged over 200 flights and more than 700 hours, testing 27 degrees C cold weather, natural icing, crosswind landing, 37 degrees Celsius and 8,000 feet, 2,400 m, hot and high operations. The first TAP Air Portugal aircraft made its first flight on the 15th of May, 2018. It joined the 2 previous test aircraft to check the cabin systems, air conditioning, crew rest, etc. It started the final certification step on the 18th of June, function and reliability tests or route proving, including ETOPS, diversion airport landing, and testing ground handling over 150 flight test hours, as the flight test program reached 1,000 hours. Entry into service was planned for the 3rd quarter of 2018 and ETOPS was to be approved in October for 330 minutes. EASA granted the A330-941 type certificate on the 26th of September, 2018, with ETOPS not yet approved. ETOPS 180 minutes was approved on the 14th of November, restricted to engines with fewer than 500 flight cycles. Airbus expects the FAA type certification with 180 minutes ETOPS by the end of 2018 and 330 minutes ETOPS in the first half of 2019. Beyond 180-minute ETOPS was approved by the EASA on the 24th of January 2019. The maiden flight of the -800 took place on the 6th of November 2018. The 4H 4 minutes flight inaugurated a 350H test program aiming for mid-2019 type certification, for delivery in the first half of 2020 to launch operator Kuwait Airways. By late March 2019, it was halfway through the 300-hour flight test program, having completed 44 flights in 149 hours. The -800 received EASA type certification with 180-minute ETOPS on the 13th of February 2020. ETOPS clearance beyond 180 minutes was awarded on the 2nd of April. Entry into service, edit. Leased from Avolan. The first A330-900 was delivered to TAP Air Portugal on the 26th of November 2018. Featuring 298 seats, 34 full-flat business, 96 economy plus and 168 economy seats, and to be deployed from Portugal to the Americas and Africa. TAP made its first commercial flight on the 15th of December from Lisbon to São Paulo. The airline should receive 15 more A330neos in 2019 and fly the A330-900 from Lisbon to Chicago O'Hare and Washington Dulles from June 2019, both 5 times a week. Increased takeoff weight, edit. On the occasion of the 19th of October 2017 first flight, an increase to 251 t. 553,000 pound, MTO by mid-2020 was announced, with a few changes to the landing gear and brakes, increasing its range by 700 or 1,000 mi, 1,300 or 1,900 kilometers, 810 or 1,150 mi, compared to the current A330neo or A330ceo. The 251 MTO was confirmed by Airbus in November 2017. This gave the -900 a range of 7,200 mi, 13,300 kilometers, 8,300 mi, and 8,115 mi, 15,090 kilometers, 9,380 mi, for the -800. Test flights of the 251 A330-900 started from the 28th of February 2020. Airbus was expecting a short 30-40H test campaign, as multiple tests were conducted with the previous variant adapted to higher weight, including flight performance and noise assessment. The heavier structure allows a transpacific range and is balanced by a weight reduction effort, keeping the same empty weight and payload. On the 8th of October 2020, the 251 A330-900 was EASA certified, before introduction by Corsair International. Retaining 99% spares commonality, it offers 6 t, 13,000 pound. More payload while strengthening the landing gear and extending the time before overhaul interval from 10 to 12 years. On the 31st of March 2021, Corsair took delivery of the first 251T Airbus A330-900 in a 3-class, 352-seat configuration. The 251 A330-800 was certified by EASA in April 2022. Further certification for international markets, edit. On the 13th of January 2025, it is reported that the Civil Aviation Administration of China, CAAC, has granted the A330neo family with its type certificate for Chinese airlines to operate the A330neo family in China. The CAAC confirmed that the design of the Airbus A330neo complies with the relevant regulations of Chinese civil aviation and recognizes the A330neo type certificate issued by the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, EASA. This marks a milestone of the type since China has been the biggest market for the previous generation A330ceo family. Also, it is reported that the first potential Chinese customer of the new generation A330 is Hainan Airlines, with 20 A330-900 on order. Design, edit. The A330neo is advertised as having a 12% fuel burn advantage per flight over the older A330 variants. This advantage comes from the 11% gain from the Trent 7000 and its larger 112-inch fan, compared to the 97.5-inch Trent 700 engine. However, this gain is negated by 3%, 2% by additional weight, and 1% due to engine drag, but the sharklets and aero optimization regain 4%, restoring the advantage to 12%. Furthermore, fuel consumption per seat is improved by 2% due to the rearranged cabin, space flex and smart lav, with increased seating, offering a 14% fuel burn reduction per seat for the new 900 compared to the previous 235-ton 300 version. The newer 242-ton 300 is already 2% more efficient. Since the fan is enlarged from 97 to 112 in 250 to 280 centimeters, the nacelles are mounted higher, necessitating extensive CFD analysis to avoid supersonic shock wave interference drag, as is the first slat's dogtooth. The wing twist and belly fairings are tweaked to approach the lowest drag elliptical span-wise pressure distribution changed by the larger sharklets, like the flap track fairings shaped to lower form drag. Initially based on the largest 242neo A330, Airbus is studying an improvement to 245t, £540,000 neo for the A330neo, which would match the figure originally given for the Airbus A350-800 before it was sidelined in favor of the A330neo. This would give the -900 a 7,000 mi, 12,964 kilometers, 8,055 mi, range to better compete with the 787-9's 7,635 mi, 14,140 kilometers, 8,786 mi, on the -800 at floor 400 cruise fuel flow at Mach 0.82 and low weight is 4.7 to 5.2 t, 10,000 to 11,000 pound per hour at a higher weight and Mach 0.83. Cockpit and cabin, edit. Airbus unveiled a distinctive cockpit windscreen to be featured on the A330neo, similar to that on the A350, and promised a new interior concept offering a better passenger experience on the A330neo. Engines, edit. Candidate engines included variants of Rolls-Royce's Trent 1000 and General Electric's GX-1B. Both engine makers were reportedly interested in winning an exclusive deal should a re-engined A330 be offered. The Trent 1010, thrust, efficiency, new technology, engine was under development for the 787-10, but Rolls-Royce intended to offer a broad power range. The A330neo uses the Rolls-Royce Trent 7000 engine, which is an electronic-controlled bleed air variant of the Trent 1000 used on the Boeing 787-10. It will have a 112 in, 284 centimeters, diameter fan and a 10-1 bypass ratio. They deliver a thrust of 68,000 to 72,000 pounds force, 300 to 320 kN. The Trent is the exclusive power plant, as Rolls-Royce offered better terms to obtain exclusivity. Customers bemoan the loss of competition among engine makers. Stephen Udvar-Hazy, CEO of Airlease Corporation, said that he wants a choice of engines, but Airbus has pointed out that equipping a commercial aircraft to handle more than one type of engine adds several $100 million to the development cost. The head of Pratt & Whitney said, "Engines are no longer commodities, the optimization of the engine and the aircraft becomes more relevant. The decision to offer the aircraft with only one engine option is not unique to Airbus. The Boeing 777X will come equipped exclusively with General Electric GE9X engines, after Rolls-Royce made a bid with its advanced configuration but was not selected. Variants, edit. A330-800, edit. The A330-800 retains the fuselage length of the A330-200,